Happy day, children. I hope you all are doing well. Class 6 Social Studies. Children, before we move into our today's class, let us have a short recap on our last session. We started with the first chapter from history. Name of the chapter is What, Where, How, and When. So, we started with reading about what happened to the people who lived in the past. Now, moving on to the second topic of the chapter, where. Where did the people live? Where did the people of the past live? Okay, children, I want you all to locate the Suleiman Hills and the Kirdar Hills in the map picture shown. Can you all locate it? Very good. It was here that men and women started to grow crops such as wheat and barley about 8,000 years back. Okay, so in yesterday's class, we studied about what the people did. We about the past, we come to know about the eating habits of the people, their profession, and so many other things. Now, in this session, we will be seeing about where the people lived, what the people did around the areas where they lived. So, it was observed that it was this region around the Suleiman Hills, Kirdar Hills, people started growing crops such as wheat and barley about 8,000 years back. Along with that, they also reared animals like sheep, goat, and cattle. So, here I want you all to observe or know what is rearing. Children, rearing can be defined as raising or growing animals for their own use. Often, it is done to satisfy their food needs. The next picture, children, I want you all to locate the Garrow Hills in the northeast shown in the right side picture. Garrow Hills in the northeast and the Vindhya range which is shown in the left hand side picture which extends to the central region. Vindhya region that extends to the central of India. So these are some areas which was stated that agriculture was started here. To be very specific, rice was first grown in the Vindhyas region. Children, if you had noticed, the crops were all grown around the river banks and around the hill regions. That is, agriculture predominantly happened around the river banks and the hill regions. That was because the constant movement of the river water flourishes the soil and sediments the soil particles over the banks that surround the rivers, bank areas that surrounds the rivers. The sedimented soil thus forms the sedimentary type of soil. You all know that there is a type of soil called sedimentary soil. So this sedimentary soil is formed in this way only. That is, the constant running river water flourishes and sediments the soil particles over the banks of the rivers, which later becomes the sedimentary type of soil. Now this sedimentary type of soil, it is very natural to know that this type of soil is very fertile and nutritious, and that is why this soil is much suitable for growing crops. And it can be naturally observed that all the regions that surrounds the river banks and the hill regions is occupied by this sedimentary type of soil, which explains why the crops flourished well around these areas. This is also observed around River Indus and its tributaries. River Indus and its tributaries occupies a large area, and it is very fascinating to know that about 4,700 years ago, cities were set up by people and it flourished very well around the riverbanks of Indus, which we will be learning way deeper in your higher classes. And next, it was also noted that about 2,500 years ago, cities were also set up along the riverbanks of Ganga. Moving on to the south of river Ganga was once ruled by very powerful rulers called the Magadha kingdom. They set up a very large kingdom called the Magadha kingdom, and this was said to be very powerful because it was believed that the riverbanks of the Ganga was very very fertile, and people started growing crops there, and that is how they became very very wealthier, and cities started flourishing around the this around this area. And that is why way back around that was 2500 years ago, this kingdom was said to be very powerful, set up by very powerful rulers. Now children, if you had observed, the areas where people had lived was not only towards the northwestern region or towards the northeastern region. It was distributed, like northwestern was also occupied, northeastern, central region, Vindhya region was also occupied. So this shows people had traveled or migrated from one place to another. People moved across the bold frontiers. Frontiers here refers to the areas near or beyond the boundary. The areas that mostly forms near or beyond the boundaries are hills, high mountains, deserts, rivers and seas. So people moved across the bold frontiers and traveled for various reasons. Now, why people traveled for various reasons across all these frontiers, we shall see in our next session. So that's all for today children. Hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you and have a nice day.